Meanwhile, we are also following the latest developments surrounding the killing of a gorilla at the Cincinnati Zoo over the weekend. Police are now investigating a 3-year-old boy's parents after the child fell into the gorilla exhibit, forcing zoo officials to eventually shoot and kill the rare silverback gorilla who retrieved the boy you can see there. The parents now could face criminal charges, while the zoo itself is also facing a federal complaint alleging that it violated the Animal Welfare Act. This incident has sparked widespread outrage and raised questions about zoos in general. To discuss it all, we now welcome wildlife biologist Jeff Corwin, who joins us now from Boston. Jeff, we really appreciate the time today. You have now spoken about this incident. Simply, do you believe that the right decision was made here?
I believe it was a very difficult decision. I believe that the folks that work at the Cincinnati Zoo, who, by the way, are some of the top primate experts and conservationists on the planet, I think they had reached that point of no return, and they found themselves in a very desperate moment, and a desperate measure was taken.
You have said zoos aren't your babysitter. What do you mean by that?
Well, essentially what I mean is that it's not meant to accuse anyone in specifics, but it's when we go to a place like a zoo, we are there to have a great experience, hopefully to learn something about conservation, to maybe encourage a little environmental stewardship amongst our children, but we're also responsible for our children. We need to be there making sure that they are behaving and acting in a way that is safe for them and safe for the people and potentially the animals around them. This isn't just for zoos. This also applies to places like national parks. Sometimes when we go to places where there are wild animals, we assume that someone else has it all taken care of. And there are examples of people plopping their children in front of a wild bison at Yellowstone National Park. Or I've seen for myself people reach through cages and try to touch animals or feed them. I was at an aquarium not so long ago. I actually saw someone reach in and pick up a baby shark. And it's like, just because it's there, you need to apply the common sense so you can make the right decision.
And yet, a 3-year-old who witnesses have said perhaps there was discussion between the child and the child's mother. The child said, "I want to go into the enclosure." A 3-year-old was able to breach the enclosure. If it's that easy for someone to do what the 3-year-old did here, what does it say about the structural integrity of zoos across the country?
Well, Josh, that certainly is a very important question to ask, and I'm sure a lot of folks in the zoological community are ruminating on that very question. What I can say about this exhibit, it's a part of a zoo that is almost 150 years old. It is a historic blue ribbon zoo. They've never had a problem like this. This gorilla exhibit is one of the oldest in the U.S., but constantly updated and brought up to par to where it should be. 40 years, it's never had a problem. All zoos that are in this class belong to an organization called the Association for Zoos and Aquariums. This is a very hard group to join. There's lots of filters, lots of requirements. They're also regularly inspected by the USDA. So while there are many questions to ask that will have to be answered, historically, this zoo has never had an unprecedented tragedy like this. And the other side of it is, yes, you can build something super tight and make it as impenetrable as possible. But if someone wants to rob a bank, they're going to rob a bank. If someone wants in, they're going to get in. I mean, we've seen that recently in Chile with people climbing in with a lion enclosure. We've seen that in New York with people trying to swim with polar bears.
And yet we saw now a rare animal, a rare silverback gorilla, killed for nothing other than essentially being itself. It was understandably perhaps dismayed by the entrance of a child into its habitat, and this happens against the backdrop of really where we are now in the discussion. You are now seeing SeaWorld in San Diego will no longer have orcas in captivity. We are seeing circuses now saying that we will no longer have elephants as a part of the show. Are we now perhaps evolving away from a place, and not to say that conservation is not important, because it is all important, but are we evolving away from a place where the idea of a zoo, of a confined series of enclosures to see wild animals, which really aren't wild at all, are we perhaps evolving away from a place where those are going to be accepted?
Josh, that's a really interesting question. I think you've touched on something that's very important. It's this concept of evolution. We're always evolving, and the zoos that you see today, just like schools you see today, or many institutions of the 21st century, are not like they were when they first germinated many decades before. The primary mission of a zoo is to educate and enlighten people on conservation issues. And I simply look at it like this. It's very hard to protect and save an endangered species if you do not have compassion or empathy for it. And you're not going to have that compassion and empathy if you have no connection or understanding of it. And that's what zoos do. You're in New York, there's the Bronx Zoo. Cincinnati Zoo is in the city. Right here in Boston, we've got the Franklin Park Zoo. These are some of the most important zoos. Why? Because they're urban zoos. These are often the only places where inner city families have a connection to nature. I know that personally. My dad was a Boston police officer. He'd go to work in a very tough area of the town. He would drop me off in the morning at the zoo, Franklin Park Zoo. That experience very much was the catalyst that drove me to become a wildlife biologist. So I think zoos are very important, but they need to stay focused on their mission, which many of them do, which is conservation and building a stronger sense of environmental awareness.
Hear, hear. I can't agree more. And if nothing else, I just would like to see them perhaps provide a habitat where the animals living therein can be safe from all of us, if nothing else.
I agree 100%, Josh. And you, by the way, you hit the nail right in the head. This gorilla did nothing wrong. It was just being a gorilla.
Yeah. Jeff Corwin, I really appreciate the conversation, Jeff. Really, really thank you for the time.
Thank you.